Hello everyone! My name is Nardo and I make funny D&D 5e homebrew content and conversions of old D&D stuff into modern D&D. I've been really hankering from some old school wizardry and close-up magic recently, so what I have for you guys today is a series of 23 spells. There's 23 of these? It's a ridiculous number. 23 spells from the first edition D&D that I have happily and eagerly converted to modern 5.5e for your using pleasure. But before we kick off, I'd like to point out that these spells back in the day didn't have a proper spell list, and they were spread across multiple issues of Dragon Magazine. So I'll let you know on each spell where specifically it's from, just for fun. We will be going in leveled order, so starting with level 1 spells and working our way all the way up to level 9. And yes, we have spells of all levels. Now, without further ado, let's get into looking at these goofy spells from ages long past. Our first spell coming from Dragon Magazine issue number 187, and we have a few spells from this specific issue, is Liquid Orb. Now we have to start with a banger, and
I know bangers!
What this spell does is create a pint of liquid in orb form. I know, very powerful stuff straight out of the gate. Let's have a look at the old version and the new version side by side here. We have kept the essence of the spell the same. An orb that can be of any liquid you might need at the time, whether it be soup, ink, clothes dye, all things that can be conjured. Use cases for the spell: if you're hungry with no food or water, if you have to quickly amend your contract with a demon but you're all out of ink, you're all late to arrive to the gala and you learn that the rival adventuring party is wearing the same colors as you, so you quickly summon clothes dye to remedy the situation. Basically, I can't imagine playing D&D without this spell. And also, it's weird that the alchemy jug existed but there was no spell equivalent to what it could do, so this helps fill in the logistical magical gaps in my world building headcanon for me personally. But if summoning soup isn't your thing, we have this next one. From Dragon Magazine issue number 200, we have Raels Cover. Now, I really enjoy how some spells have names of the wizards who created them, and you kind of get a sense of who the person was based on all the spells they have named after themselves. And Rael's environmental storytelling paints him as like an archer wizard. A lot of his spells have to do with shooting arrows, bow and arrow related magical things, but not this one. Rael's Cover allows you to pick a location and have it manifest some half cover for you or a friend, which I think is a ton of fun. We don't really get summonable cover effects almost at all, which is a shame because I think cover mechanics in 5.5e are some of the most straightforward enough to be understood, but game affecting enough to try to go for in every fight. I know chest high walls are some of the coolest things out there, but don't worry, it gets better with the next one. From Dragon Magazine number 220, Tipple. This is my favorite first level spell out of every single one, and I cannot understand why this effect hasn't carried over somehow in modern D&D. Well, I can very easily. It's avoiding healing from arcane casters, but that's lame. Let them spend 50 gold for a heal spell. Let me explain the spell so we can actually be on the same page. What Tipple does is, as a bonus action, you as the caster can send out liquid from a container on your person to the mouth of a willing creature within 30 feet. So in essence, you can send a healing potion into someone's mouth. Or if you're a cool guy, you can say you're doing that, and then send acid instead, causing that pesky rogue in the party to learn a valuable lesson about being a little loot goblin. Or, you know, like a potion of hill giant strength is cool too, and other potions or buffing things mid-combat. It's a lot of fun stuff you can do with liquids that you carry on your person in a very PG way. Anyway, lots to do with this spell. I really like it. I would take it on my wizard in a heartbeat. Next, from Dragon issue number 210, we have our first level 2 spell, Drenals Annoying Poke, and this one has a lot of text in the original version. Anyway, in the newer version, which is what I will explain now, it's very straightforward. What the spell does, it animates a 4-inch needle that you carry on your person. The needle will fly around following a target creature, poking away at it until it gets so upset by the constant pokes, it might run away scared from the constant jabbing with a bad case of trypanophobia. Now, what might be a little less obvious about the spell is it sets the trend about needing funny and funnier material components for spells that the older editions liked doing a lot. And I absolutely kept all the material components exactly the same as they were back in the day, as we can see with this next one. Wait, no, not this next one, the one after this one. This one is from Dragon Magazine issue number 227. We have Goblin Chaser, and this spell took me several reads before I fully understood what the purpose of it was. I should have just read the name of it. What this spell does is creates a little wisp that zips around on the floor and is generally quite eye and ear-catchingly visible. The way you're meant to use this is to send it around a corner in a goblin hole and try to draw out the denizens inside, because they're just a bunch of stupid, dumb, idiotic, stinky, backward, ugly savages that will follow the bright light, and when they are out of their hidey hole, you hit them with a fireball or a bunch of swords, or you let loose the dogs that you've been starving for a week, you know? And yeah, that's what Goblin Chaser's for. I think that's pretty neat. Moving on, from Dragon Magazine issue 220, we have Mouse. I love this one. He's such a funny little guy of the spell. So picture the situation. The adventuring party is facing off against the Lich, and you have the phylactery, and the Lich really wants that phylactery, but you really want your hands free, so you drop the phylactery and cast Mouse on it. This causes the phylactery to run away, scurry, and hide like a mouse, avoiding capture until you're ready to go and pick it up later. Very fun, kinda situational. Frees up your hands while you're trying to avoid capture from a big bad evil guy. And incredibly goofy. Very Mickey Mouse-esque when it works out. Next spell, please. From Dragon Magazine issue number 163, Nimodes Major Delousing. This spell is absolutely hilarious and seems really niche to start with, but with some thinking it can become marginally less niche. So, what this spell does is slays any normal insects. And for the purposes of D&D, I would consider a spider a normal insect, in a 30-foot radius from a touched point. So great for camping in a swamp and keeping the mosquitoes and leeches away. Great for the rainforest arc of the journey. Maybe you find yourselves in Chult. Oh, it also keeps insects away from the affected area for the duration of the spell. So how it becomes slightly less niche than just make camping gooder spell is imagine a swarm of centipedes or a swarm of beetles all instantly killed as a hilarious practical joke, just ruining the dungeon master's time. I would love to throw a swarm of ants at my players. Only for one to go, I cast Nimodes Major Delousing. No moment could top that part of the session, and for sheer chance of that occurring, I think you should all put this in your D&D games. Thank you. Next spell. From Dragon issue number 187, we have Shark Bolt, which is such a cool concept in the original spell. It would create sharks with hit dice, and they'd follow you around and can be ordered to attack, but got smaller with attacks, and it was a whole process. But thanks to the powers of 1D&D, we now have 5.5e Shark Bolt. As an action, you prepare 2 funny sharks to follow you around. If the sharks connects and deals its damage, it explodes into liquid. Hell yeah, super easy. You can upcast this spell to make more sharks. What I enjoy the most about the spell, that I wanted to keep in line with the old version, is the sharks attacking did not consume your action. They acted with a bit of independence, and that's why I like that you can use your reaction and bonus action to launch these sharks around, and the reaction almost makes it seem like they have your back and they're the ones keeping an eye out for you. Moving on to level 3 spells. From Dragon issue number 210, we have Drenals Amok Needles. Now this Drenal guy has a thing for needles, and this spell isn't an exception to that rule, but it does have some very funny material components. So what you're going to need is 4 steel needles, especially crafted for this spell, that'll run you 50 gold pieces per needle. But that's not all. You're going to need to hold these 5-inch needles submerged in a container of mercury, which will run you another 100 gold pieces to have specifically made. But you get to talk about how fun the mercury tastes to the rest of the party, so that's an upside. What you get out of all of this is, as an action, you toss those needles into the air and they follow along with a creature of your choice, as long as you stay nearby. You get to roll attack rolls as part of the action to will them to attack the guy. For each needle, so 4 d20s, and any that hit deal a flat 4 points of damage. Now, for the spell's duration, you can use your bonus action to do it again, so have the 4 needles attack the creature again, rolling another 4 d20s to assault him. So the first turn you toss these out, you get to attack him once with the action, and then use your bonus action to attack him again. So a fair bit of damage, but it is a level 3 spell. Very nice single target damaging spell at 3rd level, which I think was missed, honestly. And you get to keep the needles and container. They are not consumed on the spellcast, and they can be a great conversation starter now that you have a big tub of mercury on you. Now on to the next spell. From Dragon Magazine issue number 229, Ice Claws. For the kind of caster that just wants to scratch away at the enemy, this one is pretty straightforward, except when it isn't. So what you get with this spell is if you can manage to make or find a little pair of crystal claws with a brass chain that's attached to them, or has them attached to each other with the little brass chain, worth a total of 5 gold pieces. You will be able to create 2 floaty ice claws that mimic your hands and allow you to attack with them, like a stand user or some other anime. The claws let you swipe with them using your action and bonus action, so it's like you're dual wielding. They also have a fun trait that if you connect with both claws, you can grab the target and deliver damage to them without the roll to hit on subsequent turns, which could be quite devastating if you manage to get both hands on the same creature. Overall, pretty neat combat spell, gives you some variety to the damage outputs at this level besides Fireball and Lightning Bolt. Pretty goofy. Next spell, please. From Dragon issue number 238, we have Scourge of Stars, and this one has to be one of my favorite material components out of any spell. So what you'll need to cast this spell is 9 diamonds that you drill a hole through and connect with a cord or chain. The good news is you get to keep and reuse these materials, which is my favorite kind of material spell component, where the materials are expensive and obtuse, but they don't get consumed. So you as a dungeon master can make it almost a quest to find these strange objects. Anyway, what does this spell actually do? As an action, you animate this cord of diamonds and it becomes like a tentacle coming out of you, a pseudopod if you will, that you can then command with a bonus action to whip at enemies from a good 10 feet away. And not only does it deal damage, it also sucks off the damage it deals to heal you, and not only heal you, but provide temporary hit points if you were to overheal yourself. Very cool use of a bonus action for turns, very cool material cost, and yeah, I really like this one. Next spell, from Unearthed Arcana. No, not the modern one where it's just like a little issue that comes up every once in a while. This one's an actual book, and this spell is from page 57, Shout. I remember using Shout very often in Baldur's Gate. No, not that Baldur's Gate.
I don't want to talk.
Yeah, that's the Baldur's Gate. It was just a good damaging spell, and I had no idea that it came with a shattering ice and glass effect as well, which is very fun. I wanted it to feel like it felt to me when playing the game, as in I wanted it to feel like a bard had a pretty nice trick to just wang out at people who got a little too close, and the people should not be underestimated the power of some well-trained vocal cords. Next spell. Oh, we're in 4th level spells now, I forgot to mention. Shout's a 4th level spell, and this next one from Dragon issue number 92, Thunderlance, is also a 4th level spell. Now this spell does a fair bit of things, so it is not what it sounds like. You don't create a lance of thunder, you create a little 2-foot long stick that acts kinda like an immovable rod in 3D space. If anything besides the caster, let's say that's you, touches it, they get shocked real bad. But the cool use of this Thunderlance is it busts through magical barriers, and some pretty sturdy ones at that. Barriers like Wall of Force, Liam's tiny hut, and even Globe of Invulnerability get poofed away by this concentrated rod of energy. So it's kind of like a combat spell, but it's really a utility counterplay spell, which I think fits level 4 spells perfectly. But now we are moving on to the big stuff with level 5 spells. From Dragon Magazine issue 123, that's 123, we have Fallions, a Fabulous Fireball. It would not be a list of spells if it did not contain some kind of iteration of Fireball, the best spell in D&D. You know, it was almost called a D&D and F, Dungeons and Dragons and Fireballs. So how is this Fabulous Fireball different than the run-of-the-mill Fireball? Side note, do not have fireballs near mills. Fallions Fabulous Fireball deals the damage of a fireball upcast to 5th level, so it delivers 10d6 fire damage. But what actually makes it a different spell is the bead that you send out with the fireball spell that causes detonation after traveling 150 feet can turn with this spell. That's right, you could scout out an area with a familiar or a less liked party member, for example, and once you get the lay of the land, you could shoot this ball out and have it turn the first corner, turn the second corner, and fly straight into the throne room of the definitely evil ruler of the nearby town. What I really enjoy about this spell is if you upcast it with higher level spell slots, it increases the number of turns it can make, which I think is just snazzy and full of utility and a funky explosive times. But now for something a bit spookier. From Dragon Magazine issue 164, we have the very scary Fell Blade. The material components for this one are very spooky coded indeed, needing a drop of the caster's blood and unholy water. So good luck finding that. I'm sure it won't actually be that difficult. What the spell does is it creates a fun sword for the caster to swing around using their casting ability instead of their strength or dexterity. The sword comes with a few upsides in that it swings for a huge 4d10 necrotic damage. But the cool part of it is whenever it wangs an enemy, they get to be given a curse of your choice. And you get to reference the Bestow Curse spell to check what you would like to give them. I'm partial to option 3, making them do a wisdom saving throw at the start of each turns in order to do anything besides the dodge action. In addition to all this, the Fellblade sucks out life energy from whatever it hits, healing the wielder a portion of the damage just for fun. Speaking of fun, our next spell, from the Dragon Magazine issue 225, we have Vecnas Conflageration. This is the spell to enforce social distancing to its highest peak, needing only verbal components, so perfect for escaping out of binds. This spell has you, the caster, utter its incantation, causing an eruption of force and fire, emanating from you pushing everything around you 30 feet away. It also pushes all other objects in your immediate area to be pushed back, creating a nice open space between you and everyone else involved in the spell. You get to remember that Vecna, that funny wizard guy that wanted to ascend to godhood. What a funny fellow. Basically, the spell has nothing but upsides in its funny explosion, and surely will not cause too much friendly fire among the party at all. But that's all the 5th level spells we have. Let's move on to level 6 spells. From the Player's Handbook, page 84, Glassee. Right? The Player's Handbook? I was starting to think it didn't have any spells in it back then, but it did. And Glassee is going to show you the caliber of level 6 spells contained in the Player's Handbook of 1E. For this level 6 transmutation spell, Glassee will allow you to touch a point, and an up to 5x5x5 area of that point will become see-through like glass, while retaining the physical properties it originally had. So stone would be hard, metal would be conductive, bamboo would be bendy, and wood would float. Potentially, maybe, depends on the wood. Well, that's all it does. That's the whole spell, actually. Oh, and you can make these effects permanent if you spend the whole concentration time on it. Spells exist in D&D outside the party, and this is probably a vital spell when creating defensible positions and funny traps. It definitely will have a place at my table. Moving on to the next spell. From Dragon Magazine issue number 200, it's Lightningcloak. And this is another thing these old spells do, is they make spells that should absolutely be 2 words, 1 word, which I'm not the biggest fan of, but it's not like a game breaking enough for me to change. So Lightningcloak. Let's look at what it takes to cast this spell. First, you'll need some powdered amber worth 100 gold. That is used in the casting of the spell, but as an 11th level caster, which is the soonest you'll get this spell, surely that amount of gold won't be too bad. Next, you'll need a finely woven cloak worth 500 gold pieces. A bit steep, but the cloak is not consumed in the casting. You just have to make sure no goblins sneak off with it in the night. Now, once you've prepared your components and don your cloak, what do you get out of the spell? Well, several benefits, actually. For starters, it absorbs the first 80 points of lightning damage you receive, so a fun defensive option if you're facing off against an electric-themed enemy. You can use your action to send out a lightning bolt, like the spell Lightning Bolt, several times, which could be very spell-efficient depending on your circumstances. And whenever you are struck in melee, it gives a nasty little shock to whoever hit you. And it's worse if they're using a metal weapon, because like conductivity and such. Yeah, in all, this spell does many things, but we are getting in the higher level categories of spells now, and these spells could essentially define a character. This one sure can. The cloak by itself is a fun conversation starter, and the player could describe the intricacies of the cloak to make painting a mini of the character very annoying, which is always a big plus. Now, the next spell. Also from the same issue of Dragon Magazine as the previous spell, number 200, we have Bloodstars. You know what scene is really cool from the movie X-Men? Yeah, so imagine you make 7 of those little balls, but they shine and suck off blood as they impact on enemies, and you can choose to detonate them once they've sucked off enough life force. That would be pretty neat. That is essentially what Bloodstars is, a 7th level spell, heavy focused on causing devastation to a moderate amount of creatures. Yeah, crazy straightforward 7th level spell. You have the little balls and they fly around, and you suck people off, and then you blow them up. You blow your load right all over them. It is very straightforward, very easy. Next, from Dragon Magazine issue 186, 187, we have Wings. The spell Wings, it is a very fun spell. You can slap someone or just point at them and grant them functional wings busting out of their back. And what's funny is the original spell specifically required the target to have a definable back, which I think is just ableist, honestly, so we did away with that restriction. Now jellyfish can have this spell cast on them as well. In addition to granting a fly speed to the creature, depending on what kind of wings you choose to bestow on the target, they get a funny little benefit. Would you give someone the increased avoidability from butterfly wings, the quick movements to avoid opportunity attacks from hummingbird wings, maybe make them read a lot of text with dragon wings, or even give them a cool charging bonus with eagle wings? All very cool, and if you upcast it, you can target more people. The actual real upside to this is you can grant flying to targets without eating your concentration, which is why this is a 7th level spell, and the last 7th level spell as we move to our one and only level 8 spell. From the magazine about the dragon, issue number 181, we have Blackstaff, a level 8 spell with so much text on it that I was sure I wanted to keep every single aspect of it for the conversion of 5.5e. So to start, you're going to need an all-purpose polearm that you aren't particularly attached to because it will disintegrate when the spell ends. This polearm will get magically turned into the titular Black Staff. Now, what can you do with a Black Staff? Well, what can't you do with it really? To start with, it's a +3 polearm of whatever polearm you use to do the spell. In addition, it has a slew of effects that happen whenever anyone besides the caster touches the staff. Effects like reducing maximum HP, destruction of magical barriers, breaking concentration on spells, consuming spell slots, scrambling psionic abilities, and an extra random effect where you get to spin a wheel, which is a d20, to see what bonus effect might occur, the most devastating one being setting intelligence and charisma scores to 1. This Black Staff spell was popularized by one of the funny mask lords of Waterdeep. If you know a little about them, you know that they are a tad unhinged for the most part, and this guy really wanted to make an anti-magic man stick he could bonk competing magic guys with, and in that task, I think he succeeded. Well, that is it for our 1 level 8 spell. We now have only level 9 spells left, so let's have a look. From Dragon Magazine issue number 187, Power Word Liquefy. What kind of spell list would this be without at least one power word in it? And this is essentially a slightly changed power word kill. And both power word kill and liquefy in older editions could target multiple creatures in one go, which I think is absolutely hilarious and could be a fun moment for a big bad to do in a campaign as a practical joke. But for balance reasons, this one only targets one creature. So how is power word liquefy different? Well, for the trade-off of a slightly lower hit point threshold, the body of the slain creature is water, so no resurrection magic apart from a wish spell or divine intervention can bring them back. And yeah, sometimes the strongest spells are the most straightforward. That's all it does. Moving on to our last one. From Dragon Magazine issue number 219, Brainblaze. Now, this is a spell with some words to it. So the old spell mentions being able to do this spell in response to getting fired upon by arrows, which is why I thought it would be hilarious to have the casting time be a reaction. So what can you do with Brainblaze at instant speed? Well, you shed your physical form, having it literally fall apart around you. In its place, you become a pillar of radiant light with several upsides and maybe like a little downsides. So the downsides, you can't cast spells. Very sad. However, the upsides is 90 feet of fly speed, immunity to physical non-magical damage, resistance to all other damage types apart from psychic and force, the ability to, as an action, shoot bolts of energy that suck out spell slots from enemies and give them back to you, and the spell slot suck-off thing also happens if anyone physically touches you. All in all, very powerful stuff. It's perfect if you're saving your 9th level spell as your last one, and this allows you to replenish a lot of the spell slots that you can then reuse later in the day, or the same fight potentially, and the defensive options with this is very real. I like the imagery of a spellcaster saying observe as they explode into a pillar of radiant energy. I think that's pretty neat. And that is all of them. We did every single one. 23 spells converted from 1st edition to modern D&D. All for you, because I love you all so much, and I would do it again and again, maybe a 4th time. But I'm not so convinced of the 4th time yet. because, you know, that's where we are at. This one took a fair bit of time, but was a lot of fun, and I'd love to hear from you lads which one of these silly spells you guys like the best, and which one, if not all of them, you can convince your dungeon master to incorporate in your game's world. I look forward to hearing about that the most. Yeah, if you made it this far, we'd greatly appreciate a like, and if you want to hear more from me, like funny subclasses and other old school conversions, you can hit the subscribe button to stay tuned. And if you really want to crack the whip for me to put more time into this, you can hit that funny share button. Nuts, right? I didn't even know that was there until recently. Yeah, you don't have to share it to like Facebook or nothing. You can post it on YouTube itself. It's like retweeting, I'm fairly sure, or just reposting. I don't know. It's good for me though. It helps me out a lot. Yeah, this is only for the lads that really want me to keep doing this stuff. Oh, I almost forgot. All these spells are in a PDF in the description for your reading leisure and ease of use. Check them out. It's free. Doesn't cost you a thing. Anyway, if you put pine needles, sugar, and water in a container, shake it, and leave it alone for 4 days, you get a nice carbonated beverage, like Sprite. Okay, love you. Bye.